The 2020 regular season is over, and as we await the playoffs to determine the champion, we wanted to take this time in the Owl's Nest to have a little bit of extra fun and do our own awards show. That's coming up today on the Owl's Nest. Welcome back to our regulars, and hello to any new viewers. If this is your first time visiting the Owl's Nest, make sure you hit that subscribe button and like the video, turn on the bell for notifications, and make sure you leave us some comments about how much you like the show. So with the 2020 season now officially over, I wanted to take this chance with Jake to kind of look over what's happened so far this season and go through a few awards that we decided to come up with here for the Owl's Nest. And where I'd like to start is a conversation that's been happening, but this is sort of our own take on it. And that, of course, is going to be both MVP of the season and Rookie of the Year. So I'm just going to let you start with this, Jake. Who is your personal pick for MVP of the 2020 Overwatch season?
This was a tough one for me, definitely, because I think there's so many amazing players this season. But I think based on the meta of the season being, double shield for the most part, I felt like this is the season where it should really go to an off-tank player. Just Sigma is so high impact, can really carry the game. And for me, that this year, that MVP has got to be Choi Ho-bin. I think he's had a little bit too good of a season to pass up, with a shock playing incredibly well. I think it is a tough contest. I think there's players like Fury, Hanbin, Krong that I think of in this same level. I'd put Void on that level. Like, there's a lot of players that I think are extremely strong in the hero. But for Choi, I just think he's so consistent at, pulling out the stops in those final moments that I have to give him credit. But to me, there's so many off-tank players deserving this reward. It's kind of impossible to pick just one. But if we have to, then for me, it's Choi.
Well, and I can't disagree with that one, I think normally when it comes to both the support game and the tank game, for me, especially in the moment, it's difficult sometimes to know or sort of see what exactly the off-tank is bringing to the table until afterwards when you kind of like watch back or it's broke down for you. But I think just like Zenyatta with Jonak in Season 1, the way that Choi Ho-bin approaches and plays this role, there are moments where even in the heat of the moment, live watching, you can't deny the impact that he on his own has on the game, especially on the Sigma. So I'm right there with you. I think Choi Ho-bin is more than deserving of the MPV. So MVP for the Owl's Nest going to Choi Ho-bin of the San Francisco Shock. Rookie of the Year is next up for us. I'm going to go with this one first. And for a while, and I wasn't sure, and I know a lot of people were kind of on the fence since he came in halfway through the season. But originally, my pick for the most part was going to be Sparkle from the Paris Eternal. And the reason why was for a lot of the season, we were constantly having these talks about whether or not the Paris Eternal deserved to be in that top echelon of teams, if they were a true contender for being one of those top teams. And it constantly felt like they were always on the cusp of it, and they do something that would kind of back that up, but then they'd go up against a team that they probably should have beat, and they would end up losing to them. But when Sparkle came through, I feel like that's when that changed. That's when they really started to sort of hit that upper echelon of it. And so for the most part, I was constantly on that Sparkle train until recently in these past few weeks, watching Alarm and the way that he would shut down, even in the end there, Sparkle himself, especially on the Ana. I think that I have to give my nod of Rookie of the Year to Alarm from the Philadelphia Fusion.
Yeah, I think you just referenced some of like the top contenders for the role, like Sparkle and Alarm. I think Alarm has had an incredible season. To be a rookie, he doesn't look like it, that's for sure. Like, if you didn't know, you would think this guy's very experienced. He's got the flexibility to play different heroes in the role and play them all really well. So I've been super impressed with Alarm. He was my pick at the start of the season, like my prediction for Rookie of the Year, when we were originally just predicting who we thought would get the awards. But having seen the season break down as it has, I've got to give my award to Ons of the San Francisco Shock yet again, just because I can't think of a case, since the origin of the Overwatch League where somebody came into that role in particular, like just the core hit scan, Widowmaker in particular role, and has looked like best in class. I think he is just one of those players who, was missed by rounds of scouting. Like, people didn't see the potential in him, just being a streamer and just, playing ranked and stuff, not playing on contenders teams, or in tournaments in Korea. But Krusty knew, apparently, and Krusty just went, full believed in him and put him in that position to succeed. And I mean, my God, he succeeded in spades. So for me, it's pretty insane on that particular role to be so incredible, to be like one of the best, if not the best, on the roll. And like, there's no way, if you were talking about best backline hit scan in Overwatch right now, there's no way you don't talk about Ons. And for me, I personally think he is, in that number one spot, especially on the Widow. So for me, like, I just have to give him Rookie of the Year because that's too incredible to me that you could do that in your rookie season.
Well, and just like you said about Alarm too, I feel like a lot of times I also forget that Ons is a rookie that just came in this year because he fits in so well both on that role and with the rest of the Shock. I mean, he's already championship caliber. So our rookies of the year here at the Owl's Nest, Alarm and Ons. So next up is Most Improved Team. I'm going to go ahead and let you take this one first, Jake.
Most Improved Team. So we're going from like last season to this season?
Yep.
What team has had the biggest jump?
Oh, I know what mine is, easily. So at the beginning of the season, actually before the season started, I had the chance to sit down and interview and talk with Albert, the general manager of the Florida Mayhem, and he told me that the Florida Mayhem would be a top 4 team at the end of the 2020 season. I'm not exactly sure. Let me actually double check exactly where they ended up. But, seeing the way that the Mayhem have performed, through the first 2 seasons, they've gone through a few reworks, It was nice to see the confidence, but I didn't know that I had completely believed him just yet. But I think it's hard to argue with the results. The Florida Mayhem ended up overall 6th place. And actually, if you take out both the Dragons and the Charge, who, were over in the APAC region, Florida Mayhem were indeed in the top 4 regular season standings. So I have to give it to the Florida Mayhem, with the introduction of Yaki on the team, of course, as well as a ton of the other ones on the team. The Florida Mayhem looked like a completely different team in the same vein that the Shanghai Dragons did going from 2018 to the 2019 season.
Yeah, I have to agree with you there that Mayhem improved a lot. To be honest, though, I think, upon further review, I think I've got to give my Most Improved Team award to the Los Angeles Valiant. I think what they've done with bringing in so many rookies to a team at one time and yet still looking like a competitive, strong team in the Overwatch League, I think that's pretty unrivaled in terms of historically in the Overwatch League. Pretty much always those successes have come off the back of hiring top players who have a ton of experience and confidence at the highest level. But the fact that they've had so much success with only a few veterans, and for the most part it's all rookies, like that to me deserves Most Improved. Especially that they had like decent seasons before, but like this is their best season ever, and they just made this radical overhaul of the roster in which they gave up a lot of veteran talent and they just went all in on getting players that they thought had the potential to grow. And for me, that's pretty incredible this season. And I feel like regardless of their movement in the standings, I feel like they're the most improved just because of that huge change they made and then coming out even stronger.
All right, so for Most Improved Team, both the Los Angeles Valiant and the Florida Mayhem. All right, Jake, what do you think was your biggest surprise of the 2020 season? This could have been an individual performance. This could have been, a specific result out of a match, or even just overall how a team ended up performing.
I think maybe my biggest surprise of the season is, I guess, more of like a general take on just how well teams have adapted to, the situation with COVID-19. Like teams have still been improving really fast. They've still been adapting to hero pools. They've still been executing really well and providing like amazing, entertaining matches. I honestly thought it would be harder on the players, and I think it has been quite hard. But I've just been really impressed with how well like the wheels have stayed on the wagon. If anything, just like wow, it actually we. I mean, it's weird to think now we're at the end of the regular season, like we've come so far. I mean, obviously there's more to go with playoffs, more pressure to be dealt with, but at the same time, I'm just impressed we've gotten this far with so few issues.
So I almost actually went with the Los Angeles Valiant for Most Improved Team, but I wanted to give them this one for me, and that was the biggest surprise. Again, coming into the season as almost an entire team full of rookie talent. I know a lot of diehard Valiant fans that, upon hearing that news were in an absolute panic about what this was going to mean for their team. And, overall, sure, they only, they placed about, 8th place, which isn't bad at all. I think for a rookie team, that's still very, very good. Another full rookie team that, I think earlier in the season, gave a lot of sort of surprise performances and had a few eyes on them was the London Spitfire. But, they ended up a lot further down the rankings than the Valiant did. So I think the Valiant as a rookie squad have come a long way. And I think also going forward into next season, I think that they can go even further. So for the biggest surprise, I'm going to give it to the Los Angeles Valiant. Now, this next one, biggest letdown, and this is I know this seems maybe on its face, you know, a little bit of a down or maybe mean category, but I want to make sure that I put this delicately too, because for my biggest letdown, it's the Vancouver Titans. Not in relation to the performance though. I think that the new squad that they have in for Vancouver have been doing the best that they can and have been doing a pretty decent job given the constraints that have been placed upon them. But looking back now, and especially when I put myself, you know, last year after that grand finals, looking at the performance, the legacy, and especially the rivalry that had been cultivated between the San Francisco Shock and the Vancouver Titans, and to have seen, you know, the once runaways and essentially how they kind of just evaporated into nowhere, and a few of them have been picked up from, you know, across the league. But to know that the chance that we had to build that rivalry between those two teams basically just poof, went up in smoke, and, you know, we haven't got to see the likes of Ryu Jeong play all season long. I think for me, that was probably the biggest letdown of the season.
Yeah, I think that's totally fair. Like, it sucks to see so much talent, you know, spread to the wind when that roster together was so strong, especially last season. Like, it's, you know, you always going to imagine, like, what they could have done. Mm-hmm. Biggest letdown. I think for me, the biggest letdown is, in a similar vein, I think it's got to be, for me, it's more like the justice and like their, you know, losing so many talented players, and like with, I think how it had felt like there were many times and they were like really bringing it together, and now with the new roster sort of back in that doghouse of struggling and trying to build again, I think it's very possible they can continue to succeed as time goes on, but it just doesn't seem like they're there just yet. And it really sucks, I think, for their fans and for the team to have hit that reset button so late into the season. I think it probably is the best choice they could make with the hand they're dealt, but I do think it's really unfortunate. Like, I would have rather seen it go a different way. I would have rather seen that happen between seasons when there's more time to adapt, because I feel like it put everyone in a tough situation. So that was definitely a tough one this season.
All right, so then finally, our last one here, most likely to own next season. So we're looking ahead to the future. Which team do you think, after seeing the performance that they have this year, next year is really going to take off?
Yeah, I'm going to be really boring and say the SF Shock, because technically this award is just saying who's going to do best next season, and I just have the most faith in them. I think Philly Fusion as well. I'm easy.
Going for the easy picks. I'm going to once again give another nod to the Los Angeles Valiant. Again, as just a rookie squad coming into what has been a challenging season, you know, from homestands and traveling to COVID and going online to the evolution of the hero pools throughout this season. I think that the LA Valiant have shown great resolve in the way that they play and the way that they come together. And given the off season and then going into next season, you know, with enough time to prepare, if the team doesn't go, you know, through any sort of substantial rework, I think that there's a lot to build upon right here. And I think going into the 2021 season, I think that the LA Valiant are going to be as strong of a team as they have been in some time. So that's going to be it for the Owl's Nest today, guys. There is the first official Owl's Nest Awards for the 2020 season. Thanks for watching, but before you go, make sure you click that bell to subscribe to our channel, get all the notifications on the latest videos, and make sure to check out the chat that we had with Dante from the Houston Outlaws last week. And if your favorite local radio station isn't running the CheckpointXP National Radio Show, you can get it on demand wherever you get your podcasts. Make sure you're following Jake on Twitter at Jake_OW and Twitch. Jake OW on Twitch and YouTube, and Jake OW, let me recut that. And make sure you're following Jake at Jake OW on Twitter and Jake_OW on Twitch and YouTube. Until next time, stay on that payload.